Today, I want to talk about the poverty rat trap, one that you may think that you're not in. But when I talk about what poverty actually is, you'll be like, oh, that is me. Let's go ahead and implement these things and get them out. Or one that you know you're in, but you really don't know how to get out of, right? I feel like too many people are in this perpetual cycle of being stuck and not being able to walk into the abundant life that God has called them to reach for their destiny because they really just are set in these beliefs and these behaviors that are holding them down in this state of poverty. So we're going to talk about those beliefs and the behaviors today and how to actually break them. Because if God wanted his people to be poor and in poverty, then he wouldn't spend so much time inside the Bible actually showing us how to actually get out of it or warning us of the things that are actually going to lead us there. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we get into that, if you're new to the channel or you're a regular watcher who hasn't subscribed yet, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you find value in the videos, hit the thumbs up. It really helps the algorithm push out to more people. And you can share it with the people in your circle, because if you find value, I'm sure the people who are like-minded will find value as well. So let's jump into what is poverty. Poverty is a state of being, and it's a state of being of insufficiency, of lack, of not being able to provide for yourself. So if you're somebody who can't keep a stable job, you're in a 9 to 5, but you're at the whim of the boss and their bottom line and what they feel is best for the company, then you are one decision away from poverty, right? If that boss comes in and says, listen, my bottom line is suffering, you are expendable, you're out of here, you got to go. I know too many people who have consistently, I've told them, ABL, always be looking, but they rely on the trustworthiness of their boss. And when it comes down to it, it's like, I'm going to feed my family, or I'm going to struggle so that you can feed yours. They're going to choose themselves every day. That's principle. That's human nature. So make sure that if you are one decision away from poverty, you're setting yourself up to make sure you're not in these behaviors that are going to keep you, in that trap of building somebody else's kingdom and not building your own. Okay. And then we talk about the beliefs, right? So we know what poverty is. Poverty is that state of being. But what are the beliefs that keep you in poverty? The beliefs that keep you in poverty are, one, money happened to you. Money is part of your circumstances. You were born into money. Money comes easy to you. You have XYZ gift. You're talented, whatever it is. And you have so many people who feel that way and feel that the rich people and the wealthy people who speak about these things are only saying these things because they're wealthy and like they didn't actually work to get there, right? I always say it on my Instagram, and I'll say it here. You'll hear me echo it. Making money is easy. That's the easy part. There are principles that we apply to make the money, right? It's about who you are, the character that you develop as you're going to make money. That's the hard part. That's the hard part. And the people who are stuck in this mindset of you have money, so it's easy for you to say it, don't understand the transformation that you have to go to be able to actually go get that thing. Money is the product. Money is the product that's available to all of us. And if you have this belief system that it's only available to a select few, or if you have this belief system that money is inherently evil and that the wealthy people are the evil people and you don't want to be a part of that clan, then you will be in poverty forever. And it's going to be very hard to shift their behaviors if you can't shift that belief system first. Then you have the Christians, the followers of Christ, the believers who think that, because the rich young ruler, Jesus said that it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of the needle than, a rich man against heaven, after the rich young ruler didn't want to sell all his possessions. So they think, oh, I can't be rich. I gotta be poor and destitute and everything else. Those people, they're in bad company or they were badly mentored because they're taking that story out of context and what the purpose of the story was. And it's talking about the posture in your heart, right? If God didn't want his people to be rich, he would never told us that he would give us the power to get wealth. That's in Deuteronomy. He would have never spent so much time warning us of the things that actually brought you into poverty. Right. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about those 5 things and how to break them. Those 5 things that the Bible talks about that will lead to poverty. But let's give you a warning, right? Proverbs 10:15. He says, the rich man's wealth is his strong city, but the destruction of the poor is their poverty. He would not be telling us this if he did not want us to stay out of it, right? Remember, he said, my people perish because of the lack of knowledge. So if he's saying my people perish because of the lack of knowledge, and he wants you to not reject the knowledge, and wants you to come into it so that you have wisdom so that you don't perish. And then he tells you that the destruction of the poor is poverty. He wants you to come out of it. He doesn't want his people to perish. He doesn't want his people to be destroyed. So Get the belief system out of your mind that God doesn't want people to have money. He doesn't want you to put the money in front of him. He doesn't want to put the money, above him. He doesn't want you to chase it and rely on that as the source of your 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 livelihood, right? He is our source. The resource is the money. The reason we need the money to live. That's why we spend so much time at work trying to get it, right? So, get that belief out of your head. The Bible tells us that he gives us the power to get wealth so we can go have it. But what are the things that keep you poor and how would he break them? First and foremost, jumping back, of these 5 things, number 4 and 5 might be like, oh, that's crazy. I want you, as I go through them, I want you to think about what of these traits, what of these behaviors do you do in your life, and how you can adjust them, and what areas cause you to be there, and think about which ones you do a really good job of staying away from, and which ones you feel like you counter. Now, number 4 and 5 are going to be like, oh, that's different. I didn't know that was something that would keep me in poverty, but believe it or not. And these are in no particular order. I just have them in this order. So first and foremost, sleeping and laziness. Sleeping and laziness. Solomon tells us in Proverbs 6, 10, and 11, he says, a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. And some versions say rest. So shall your poverty come on you like a prowler, and your need like an armed man, or your want like an armed man, right? And then he goes in Proverbs chapter 24, he gives us a little bit deeper account of it, right? He's telling us, he's showing us what a lazy man, what the chaos, I guess, or the leaving, the negligence, there we go. I was trying to find that word. The negligence of his domain, his kingdom, what it looks like because he was lazy. Proverbs 24, 30 through 34, he says, I went by the field of a lazy man, and by the vineyard of the man devoid of understanding. And there it was, all overgrown with thorns. Its surface was covered with nettles. Its stone was all broken down. When I saw it, I considered it well. I looked on it and received instruction. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest. So shall your poverty come like a power, and your need like an armed man, right? So he basically said what he said in chapter 6 again here, but he gave you the entire complete picture. Like, if you are lazy in the areas of life where you were given dominion over, that thing will turn to chaos, right? The law of entropy says anything left to itself will only lead to more chaos and disorder, right? There's a spiritual law and a principle that you have to understand is applicable to your life, right? Proverbs chapter 20, it says, do not love sleep, lest you come to poverty. Open your eyes and you will be satisfied with bread. So when we say the sleep, it's the idea that you are not going to go get work done, right? There's some people say, oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead. We don't have to go that far. But if you are loving rest, if you're loving sleep, if you're loving your couch more than you are loving putting in the effort to utilize the gift that God has given you to actually get up and go do, then you will be in that state of being of poverty, right? That's one of the behaviors that lead to it. So you have to shift yourself from laziness to diligence and work, right? So the law of diligence, we'll do a whole video on that. The law of diligence is where you want to be. You don't want to be lazy. You don't want to be sleeping all the time. I know one of my homies always like, oh, I love my sleep. I'm like, that's probably not the best thing to be talking about. Get up and get some work done. You sleep enough, right? So then we look at our next one. It's hastiness, right? The inability or the lack of planning in what you're doing. Proverbs 21:5 says, the plans of the diligent surely lead to plenty, but those of everyone who is hasty surely to poverty. Don't be so quick to be trying to jump on the fast things. Don't be so quick to try to be like, I got this get rich quick scheme. It's okay to get rich quick. If you get rich quick, that's fine. But do it through planning, do it through diligence, do it through work, do it through integrity, through honesty, do those things, because then you are more likely to be able to hold on to those riches. Proverbs 28:22 says, a man with an evil eye hastens after riches, right? I see that money, I'm trying to go get it, and does not consider that poverty will come along him, right? So your hastiness, your chase for riches, your chase to get rich quick will cause you to miss out on foresight and vision of the things that actually will cause detriment to you, right? So you want planning and diligence and not hastiness and things that come at a detriment, right? So laziness and sleep, hastiness and lack of planning, those are two behaviors that will lead to poverty. And then you just think about those things as you're like, is this me or is this not? Part 3, idle talk, not following through, right? I said it earlier in the video. People start to hustle, like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna get ready to do this, this is my plan, da, da, da. So you got the planning part right? You say you're not lazy, you got the planning part right, but now you start talking and then you never come through. Proverbs 14:23 says, in all labor there is profit, but idle chatter leads only to poverty. Do not talk about it and not be about it, right? If you're gonna talk about it, you better be about it. That's what came up. I came up with that. You got to come up with that. Like, that's meaning I was brought up. Talk about it, be about it. Don't say nothing if you're not about that action, right? That's period. You're not about the action. Don't say nothing. Stop talking about your plans and get to work, right? I'll read it again. In all labor, there is profit. In all labor, there is profit. In all labor, there is profit. But idle chatter only leads to poverty, right? So you got to work. You don't always have to work hard, but work with intent, work in the proper direction, right? With skill, with understanding, and you'll come into the profitable landscape of your business. Now, number 4 and 5, again, no particular order, but I think it's very interesting that these are here. And number 4, I'll throw a little bit, like, it's a two-parter: stinginess and not reinvesting, right? And I'm not going to get into the parable of the talents. I want to stay in Proverbs for this case. We can always do something else in the parable of the talents. But being stingy with your money, not giving to the poor, not giving back to what God has given you, is one of the fastest ways to not get anything else. And then not reinvesting what you have earned and what you have brought up is one of the fastest ways to not be able to grow your money and stay in this perpetual rat race, right? We know in Ecclesiastes, Solomon says, and this was in our last video where he says, give to 7, even 8. And then he goes on to say, because you don't even know which one, right, is going to produce fruit, right? I'm paraphrasing. That's in Ecclesiastes 11, I believe. And Proverbs 11:24 says, there is one who scatters, yet increases more. And there is one who withholds more than is right, but leads to poverty. Right? You gain something and then you don't reinvest it. You gain something and then you don't give. You gain something and you want to try to keep it tight into your pockets, and it's not going to come back to you. It's not going to be something that will be fruitful for you, right? My thought on money is I want to earn the money and then I want to send it out to come bring me back more money, right? That's one of the things that we do in learning short-term trading in the Market Mastery Mentorship. I am taking my money that I earned. I went to my 9 to 5, or I started my business, started my hustle. I earned that money and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to put you here. I'm going to walk away. When I come back, I want you to have more money. I'm not going to put you there to save it so that I can, like Scrooge McDuck, come and jump around in my nickels. Like, I'm not doing that. I want you to bring me back more. So we want to reinvest and we want to give. I don't have the verse pulled up right now, but it also says that the man who gives to the poor is lending to God, and he will actually, and God will repay him that, right? So you give, and you give with understanding. Excuse me, you give with understanding. God will repay you, right? You give into the people who God is calling you to take care of. He will repay you for that. That's a principle. So don't be stingy, and always look to invest your money. And if you don't know how to, competence, right? That's a skill. You gotta learn. Everybody can learn how to invest. I learned it, and I don't have a finance degree. You don't need a finance degree. You just need to You need a good teacher, and you need to understand principles, right? And lastly but not least, probably could have been number one on the list, but I wanted to save it for here. Arrogance and foolishness. Arrogance and foolishness will keep you from being able to walk into everything, your gift, walk in wealth, whatever it is, have relationships, and it would only lead to poverty, and it would lead to shame, is what the Bible says. Proverbs 13:18 says, poverty and shame will come to him who disdains correction, but he who regards a rebuke will be honored. Proverbs 3:35 says, the wise shall inherit glory, but shame shall be the legacy of fools. Listen, if God didn't want us to be wealthy and he wanted us to be poverty, he wouldn't call it shame. He wouldn't call it destruction. He wouldn't be warning us about what it is. It says that fools despise instruction in the Bible. Proverbs 1. You have to remove yourself from your own wisdom. You have to remove yourself from your own pride. You have to remove yourself from your own intellect and take in knowledge of truth. You need to try to gain an understanding of it, and you need to apply it. That's wisdom. You need to always constantly seek counsel. Surround yourself with people who have your best interests in mind, but also have the standard of God to be able to give you and impart in you, right? If you are trying to move towards a certain, thing in life, and you have people who can give you constructive criticism. I just talked about this with your circle of influence. People who can give you constructive criticism, people who can impart in you, people who can give you, tell you what you're doing right, but also tell you what you're doing wrong in order to push you forward. Those are the type of people you need to have in your life, but you need to have humility to receive it. You need to be able to be teachable to receive it. That was one of my things for a very long time. I wasn't teachable, right? I know everything, right? So even now, but now when I have an answer for everything to somebody say, the people who know me understand that I have that answer because I sought to learn. And I still learn. I will call my mother and I ask, hey, is this boom, 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 to understand, am I living up to a standard that God called me to live up to? So those are your 5 keys. If you can avoid those 5 keys by completely counter them, don't be lazy, work. Don't be hasty to jump on something, plan. Don't just talk about it, be about it. Don't be stingy, give. Don't be arrogant, be humble, right? When you can figure out how to take yourself from those behaviors, because you already have the belief, right? You have the belief that I can have this money. This abundant life is for me. Wealth is for me. I'm not going to put my trust in them. I'm not going to sacrifice my soul. I'm not going to compromise my character, right? Those things are for me, but I'm not going to do these things, and I'm going to walk in the things that keep me away from poverty. That's what's going to bring you wealth. That's how you escape the poverty trap. That's how you walk in the dominion of your kingdom. Listen, if you like this video and you want to see more like it, go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button. Let's share it with the people who you love. I also want to invite you to my CEO newsletter. I'm going to leave the link in the description. We talk about everything from business, investing, and financing to be able to help you escape the rat trap, turn your laptop into your ATM, as well as the character, right? Like I said, the money is the easy part. Your character and developing it so that you can maintain that money is the most important thing. So until next time, let's look to advance the kingdom in our lives and in the ones that we touch.